It is certain that no discipline seems to be a source of joy at the moment, but rather another reason for sadness. However, later on, it produces a peaceful fruit of righteousness and peace in those who have been trained by it. Hebrews 12, verse 11. If you accomplish something good with great effort, the work passes quickly, but the good endures. If you do something shameful in pursuit of pleasure, the pleasure passes quickly, but the shame endures. Musonius Rufus. Imagine for a moment, walking the streets of ancient Rome, listening to the wise speak about the nature of suffering and serenity. At the same time, in a secluded corner of Judea, a spiritual leader teaches the masses about the kingdom of heaven and the path to inner peace. Both scenarios, distant in geography and culture, converge on a profound truth. Our reality is not shaped by the world around us, but by the lens through which we see it. It is intriguing to note the resonances in their speeches. Let's explore these connections in detail, but allow me to give you a hint. Seneca reflected, asking, "Why do you point out others' wounds when you are full of scars?" In contrast, but with a similar tone, Jesus asked, "Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye and not notice the beam in your own?" Of course, from a Christian perspective, one cannot equate Stoic figures with the figure of Jesus Christ, and that is not our intention. Figures like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, or Epictetus were mortals with their flaws, while Jesus is seen by many as the divine manifestation on earth. However, it is undeniable that both legacies continue to inspire and guide current generations. In this material, we will explore the similarities that at first glance leave us with a question in mind. Could Jesus have a Stoic heart? I encourage you to revisit this content several times to assimilate its profound message. The connections between Stoicism and Christianity are truly revealing. As the words of Jesus and Seneca resonate in our minds, a sense of familiarity approaches us. Although their teachings may have emerged from distinct cultures and seemingly divergent traditions, both share roots in a universal truth. Inner perception has the power to transform our external experience. Don't miss the chance to apply Stoic principles to deal with life's adversities. Grab the Stoic Mindset ebook now and discover how to cultivate serenity in the midst of chaos, make wiser decisions, and overcome adversity with mental strength. Click on the link in the first pinned comment and embark on your journey of wisdom. I briefly invite you here to join our Telegram group. We're already nearing 400 members. The link is here in the description and in the comments. Now, without further ado, let's get to the video. And as usual, don't be weak. Stay till the end. Before we delve into the life and teachings of Jesus, let's explore the birth and development of the parallel philosophy that aligns with Stoicism in many aspects. In the bustling streets of Athens, the cradle of Western philosophy in the 4th century BC, Stoicism was born under the guidance of Zeno of Citium. Influenced by the teachings of Socrates and the Cynics, Zeno founded a school at the Painted Porch, from which the name Stoic originated. The Stoics, led initially by Zeno and later by luminaries such as Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, maintained that true happiness is not found in wealth or recognition, but in virtue and wisdom. For them, life is not about what happens to us, but about how we respond to it. While the external world is volatile and uncontrollable, our internal world, our thoughts and actions, is within our control. Here lies the essence of their philosophy: to live in harmony with nature, to accept what comes, and to find inner peace through self-control and virtue. One of the most revered emperors of ancient Rome, Marcus Aurelius, a devout Stoic, wrote, "Life is short, and the nature of existence is ephemeral. Live as if on a mountain." Similar to how Jesus taught his followers not to accumulate treasures on earth, Marcus Aurelius reminds us of the transient nature of life and the importance of living with purpose and meaning. With these profound reflections on life, death, and virtue, it is inevitable to question how these Stoic teachings align with those of Jesus. Was the son of a carpenter in the distant corner of Judea familiar with these thoughts? Or is it possible that, independently, he arrived at similar conclusions about human nature and the purpose of life? As we keep these questions in mind, let's now journey to Judea and explore the life and teachings of Jesus himself. Let's learn how this spiritual leader, who transformed the course of history, addressed themes such as wealth, life, and truth. At the heart of the Roman Empire, in a marginalized region called Judea, Jesus of Nazareth is born around 4 BC, the son of Mary and Joseph. He grows up in a world dominated by political and religious forces. Despite being a revolutionary figure in his time, historical records about his life are scarce. Most of what we know comes from the New Testament Gospels. The context of Jesus is one of Roman oppression and religious turmoil. However, instead of leading a revolt against the invaders, Jesus proposes an internal revolution of the heart and spirit. His teachings, deeply rooted in Jewish tradition, show surprising parallels with Stoic philosophy. Take, for example, the Beatitudes from the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." These words reflect a mindset that values humility and detachment from the snares of ego, something the Stoics would also appreciate. Furthermore, in the Gospel according to Luke, Jesus warns, "Take care and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions." This concept reflects the core of Stoic thought, that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the richness of spirit and character. Jesus, with his temporal wisdom, invites his followers to transcend worldly concerns and focus on eternal truths. Just like the Stoics, he acknowledges that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond to it. And it is precisely at this intersection of teachings, at this crossing between Stoic virtue and Jesus' message, that we find surprising similarities. Serenity in the face of adversity, self-control in the face of temptations, and the relentless pursuit of virtue are ideals that both philosophies share. With this in mind, can we assert that Jesus was a proto-Stoic? Or is it more appropriate to say that both paths, though separated by culture and tradition, converge on universal truths? As we continue our journey, let's delve deeper into these similarities, especially regarding virtue and self-control. Let's observe how Jesus, like the great Stoic thinkers, emphasized the importance of living with purpose, integrity, and unwavering serenity in the face of life's tribulations. At the core of Stoic philosophy lies a fundamental idea: the virtuous life is the only one worth living. For the Stoics, virtue is not merely a set of moral rules, but the very core of a good and meaningful life. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, defined virtue as a consistent selective disposition in accordance with reason. In essence, virtue is to live in harmony with reason and nature. Let's think about Jesus' serenity. Even at the height of his suffering, crucified, he demonstrates a profound acceptance and understanding of his fate. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," he said. His serenity in the face of adversity is, in many ways, comparable to the serenity the Stoics aspire to achieve. Epictetus, one of the great Stoics, wrote in his Enchiridion, "It's not the events that disturb people, but their judgments about them." It's a call to understand that our reaction to adversity is more determining than the adversities themselves. The connection between Jesus and the Stoics in the pursuit of virtue and self-control is clear. Both see the external world as something uncontrollable, but firmly believe that the individual has mastery over their internal response. So, if Jesus and the great Stoics were together, what would they say about our relationship with the material world? Let's imagine for a moment Jesus conversing with Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor. While the former warns about the dangers of wealth and the difficulty of a rich person entering the kingdom of heaven, Marcus Aurelius reflects on the ephemeral nature of earthly possessions. Together, they would invite us to detach ourselves from the material and focus on the true riches of spirit and character. But to deepen this imaginary dialogue, let's take a closer look at their doctrines on detachment from the material world in the next chapter. Imagine a serene afternoon in Jerusalem. The age-old stones of the temple reflect the golden light of dusk. In a corner, Jesus of Nazareth, with his serene and profound expression, meets Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome. Though separated by decades and geography, an invisible bond seems to unite their thoughts. "Master of Galilee," Marcus begins, "I see in your teachings a profound wisdom, one that would resonate in the streets of Rome. You speak of detachment from riches, while I have reflected on the ephemeral nature of earthly possessions. How do you see the relationship between man and his belongings?" Jesus, looking at the emperor with understanding, replies, "Truly I say, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God." The emperor nods, acknowledging the depth of the message. "In my meditations," he responds, "I wrote that very little is needed for a happy life. It is all within you, in your way of thinking. Riches often serve as a distraction from this truth." Both leaders, from their different contexts, converge on a common understanding. Material possessions themselves are not the problem. The challenge lies in the attachment we confer upon them, in how we allow them to define our worth and sense of purpose. As this imaginary conversation fades into the night, a profound question emerges for all of us. What value do we place on material things in our lives? Do they define us, or are they simply tools we use to contribute to our well-being and that of those around us? However, we cannot ignore the fundamental variations in their views and essential practices. Jesus, with his unconditional love for others and call to service, and Seneca, with his emphasis on virtue and the well-being of the community, present two complementary perspectives. But what would unfold if both shared a moment together? In our next chapter, we envision a dialogue between Jesus and Seneca, exploring their similarities and differences, and how each would approach themes such as love, society, and the purpose of being human. On a terrace overlooking a vast landscape of olive trees and golden fields, Jesus meets Seneca, the prominent philosopher and advisor of the Roman Empire. The shadows of dusk begin to lengthen as they both share reflections on a theme that transcends generations: love for one's neighbor and contribution to the common good. Seneca, with his firm and thoughtful voice, raises the question, "I have observed, Master, that your doctrines place great emphasis on love for one's neighbor. In Rome, we also value the well-being of our society, although we often see it through the lens of justice and duty. How do you perceive this love, and how can it manifest in concrete actions?" Jesus, reflecting an unfathomable depth in his gaze, replies, "Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than this." Gospel according to Mark 12:31. True love seeks not its own benefit but unfolds in actions for the good of others. It is through this selfless love that a true sense of community is built. Seneca nods and reflects. In our Stoic discussions, we explore the idea of sympathy, the interconnectedness of all beings. I see resonances with your words. In my writings, I have said, the well-being of all humanity is interconnected. If there is a common benefit, then it is connected. It seems we are both speaking of a deeper understanding of how each individual action can impact the very fabric of our society. Jesus smiles gently and adds, "Every act of kindness, however small, is like a stone thrown into a lake. The ripples expand, touching hearts and lives beyond what our eyes can see. So it is with the kingdom of God, like a seed that, though small, grows and bears abundant fruit." Seneca, with an expression of recognition, concludes, So, though our paths may differ in their foundations and practices, the essence of love and the pursuit of the common good is a thread that binds us. Each of us has the capacity to enrich and uplift our society through our daily actions and decisions. As the sun sets on the horizon, leaving a sky tinged with oranges and purples, the conversation between Jesus and Seneca fades, but its resonance endures. It reminds us of the eternal importance of compassion, empathy, and unconditional love in building a better world. And as we reflect on this profound conversation, we turn to another exchange of ideas between Jesus and Epictetus, where we will explore their fundamental differences in beliefs and practices. The air becomes dense in a hypothetical room, where in one corner, Jesus sits with his compassionate and serene gaze. In front of him, Epictetus with a thoughtful expression. The clash of two great minds who, though sharing universal values about humanity, morality, and purpose, originated from different foundations of belief. Master from Nazareth, Epictetus begins, throughout my life, I have maintained that our will is linked to reason, and through it, we attain true freedom. What do you think about the nature of human will and its relation to faith? Jesus, always thoughtful, responds, true freedom comes from knowing the truth, and the truth will set you free. Gospel according to John. He continues, faith is the assurance of what we hope for, the conviction of what we do not see. Letter to the Hebrews. Epictetus nods, recognizing the depth of the response. In our reflections, we maintain that reason, when aligned with nature, guides us toward virtue. Faith, from my perspective, requires a suspension of reason, and though powerful, it can veer us away from objective truth. To this, Jesus replies, every tree is known by its fruit. Faith, when genuine, does not contradict reason but transcends it, guiding the heart to deeper and eternal truths. Epictetus, quoting one of his own teachings, says, we are not disturbed by events, but by the interpretation we make of them. In this sense, our interpretation of the world, guided by reason, determines our well-being. The air in the room subtly changes, not into tension, but into deep contemplation. Both acknowledge that, while they share the desire to guide humanity towards inner peace and virtue, their paths fundamentally diverge in how they perceive and relate to the world. These differences prompt us to consider the theological roots of Christianity and the Stoic worldview. While Christianity upholds a theocentric view of the universe, Stoicism leans towards a perspective based on nature and reason. Both philosophies have their merits and offer us different lenses through which to interpret and experience the world. With this framework in mind, it's essential to delve deeper into these differences and consider how these perspectives can enrich each other. In our next segment, we will delve into Christian theology and the Stoic view of the world, seeking to find a balance between faith and reason. The room, still imbued with the previous dialogue between Jesus and Epictetus, is filled with a new air of reflection. While Christian faith proposes a personal God who intervenes and cares for humanity, Stoicism perceives the cosmos as a rational entity, a totality governed by what they called logos, or universal reason. Christianity, with its rich theology, speaks to us of a loving God who became man in Jesus of Nazareth. This divinity, in an incomprehensible act of love, incarnates to redeem humanity from its flaws. It is a religion based on relationship, on the interaction between the divine and the human, between the Creator and his creatures. On the other hand, Stoics see the world as a reflection of a logical and natural order. It's not necessarily a personal God who governs, but a universal reason, a logos that permeates and structures all existence. Seneca, one of the most prominent Stoics, mentioned in his letters to Lucilius, God is not separate from the world, he is within it. This perspective promotes the idea that living in harmony with nature and its laws is the path to wisdom and virtue. Despite their differences, Both views can complement each other. The theological focus of Christianity emphasizes the importance of relationship and grace, while Stoicism, with its emphasis on self-discipline and self-control, can provide a framework for living out that grace practically in everyday life. At the end of this exploration, we are faced with an essential question. Is it possible to combine the depths of Christian theology with the practice and reason of Stoicism? Can Jesus, with his revolutionary lessons on love and grace, be considered in some way a Stoic Messiah? Kevin Rowe, a renowned New Testament expert at Duke University, highlights how Stoicism and Christianity share parallels and points of convergence throughout history. In the 2nd century, Tertullian referred to Seneca as Saep Noster, or often ours, and Jerome simply called him ours. Augustine, in The City of God, also acknowledges Seneca's influence. This intersection between both currents is palpable, leading to an intriguing question. Is it possible to harmonize being a Christian with being a Stoic? Some attempt to unify these philosophies, while others emphasize their differences. Although full integration may be challenging, it is recognized that a Christian can complement their faith with Stoic reflections and vice versa. Josephson, specializing in biblical studies, quotes Seneca to emphasize the importance of absorbing wisdom from various philosophical sources. Dodson comments, "While Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life for me, I am convinced that Stoicism has enriched my understanding and Christian devotion." Kevin Bosch, a specialist in clinical psychology and author of Between the Porch and the Cross, supports this view and adds, "During my research, I discovered surprising similarities between Epictetus's ideas and some modern Christian stances on issues like family and reproductive ethics. Without labeling the Stoics as Christians, it is undeniable that they offer enriching perspectives for everyone." In both Stoic and Christian scriptures, we find parallel lessons on: Number 1. Contentment. I do not say this out of need, for I have learned to be content regardless of my circumstances. I know how to live humbly, and I know how to abound. I am accustomed to any and every situation, to being filled and being hungry, to having plenty and having need. Paul. It is the attitude, not the circumstance, that should be evaluated. We must investigate whether the rich man can be content if he falls into poverty, and if the poor man can be content if he rises to wealth. Seneca. Number 2. About revenge. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. Jesus. Only a small-minded man exacts revenge. Seneca. Number 3. The Golden Rule. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Jesus. Where a human being is, there is an opportunity for kindness. Seneca. 4. About mortality. Think about your end at all times, and you will never sin. Sirach 7:36. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Marcus Aurelius. 5. About anxiety and worry. Worry weighs a person down, an encouraging word cheers a person up. Proverbs 12:25. Today I escaped anxiety, or no, I discarded it because it was within me in my own perceptions, not outside. Marcus Aurelius. 6. About love. Above all, love each other deeply. Peter. Be free from passion and yet full of love. Marcus Aurelius. 7. About discipline. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Hebrews 12:11. If you obtain anything good with labor, the labor passes quickly, but the good endures. If you do something shameful in pursuit of pleasure, the pleasure passes quickly, but the shame endures. Musonius Rufus. 8. About anger. Do not be quickly provoked in your spirit, for anger resides in the lap of fools. Ecclesiastes 7:9. Nothing is more deafening than anger, nothing more deadly. It's a hard master and a treacherous companion. If you concede, it will take you over completely. If you fight it, it will make you exhausted. Seneca. 9. On quietude. Be still and know that I am God. Psalms 46:10. Transition from one unselfish action to another with God in mind. Only there can you find steady quietude. Marcus Aurelius. 10. About examples to follow. Be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Paul. Choose someone whose way of life as well as words, and whose very face, as mirroring the disposition that lies behind it, have won your approval. Be always pointing him out to yourself, either as your guardian or as your model. Seneca. 11. On loving enemies. But if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Romans 12:20. Goodness is invincible, provided it be genuine, not plastered on. What could even the malice of a foe do to you if you were still to show him kindness? And in case the opportunity offers, expose his errors, admonish him, but quietly, not in public. It is your business to make a good character, but the character of another no one can make. Marcus Aurelius. This journey we have just witnessed, traversing the sands of time and philosophy, led us to contemplate the possibility that Jesus, the Messiah of the Christian tradition, could have shared similarities with the great Stoic thinkers. Both philosophies, though unique in their approaches and perspectives, converge on universal truths about humanity, morality, and purpose. While Christianity delves into the depths of divine love and personal relationship with God, Stoicism offers practical tools to live in accordance with nature and find serenity amidst life's storms. As we reflect on these teachings, we realize that, regardless of our religious beliefs, there are valuable lessons we can incorporate into our daily lives. As mentioned in the Gospel of John, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So whether you identify with the teachings of Jesus, the reflections of Marcus Aurelius, or simply seek a deeper understanding of yourself and the world, there's an invitation here to live with purpose, integrity, and a love that transcends all barriers. And that concludes our discussion for today. But I ask that you don't exit this video just yet. Listen to what I have to say. Below, you'll find the link to our channel's exclusive store and other links that you should also check out. Don't forget to comment "Dare me," so I know you made it this far. Remember, I read all the comments and I'll see you commenting. Stay on the screen to watch the next video that will be displayed here. It's very much worth it, and I guarantee you'll enjoy it. And for your attention, my heartfelt thanks. That was my contribution. May everyone be with the Creator.